Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of the Velvetcast.
Hell yeah. Fear
Whoa.
not, for the Velvetcast is here.
Oh my god, yeah, no.
Yeah.
This image
Hell yeah.
does not represent what this episode is all about at all. And it's very funny to me now. So, hey everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of the Velvetcast. This starts our first week of rotations for our new kind of format in which we watch a couple episodes of My Hero Academia, and then we watch a movie, and then we talk about them, obviously. So as I'm always joined by the best of the best, today I am joined by Sora and Josh.
Wow, I'm part of the best of the best?
Sorta.
Oh, man. This is all new.
That's
Wow.
kind of like your quirk. So...
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Excellent segue there. That's what Mitch is known for. A little Mitch segue over there.
Yeah, the world famous Mitch segue. All right. So today, okay. So I have the Velvetcast. Okay, so now it works. So now there's a picture of All Might on the screen. So now everyone can freak out about how cool All Might is.
Hell yeah.
Oh, boy.
All right. So everyone, today's episode is going to be talking about My Hero Academia episodes 1 and 2. Does anyone want to give a kind of idea about it, or do we want to just go straight to the review section?
General idea, I'm sorry, of what? Referring to like the first two episodes?
Yes.
Like, summary?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess spoilers for the first two episodes of My Hero Academia, but this is kind of like obviously the introductory episode to kind of our main character Deku, Izuku Midoriya's motivation as to why he wants to become a hero. He's introduced as a quirkless kid in a world where it's like being without a superpower is like being left-handed. You know, it happens often enough, but it's still pretty shitty. And so he still wants to be a hero, even though he's quirkless and he's dealing with all of this insecurity about I can still do it as long as there's still a chance. And then he has a chance encounter with his idol All Might, who's pretty much just Captain America and Crimson Chin all rolled up into one. And he ends up just kind of shooting him down, like, hey, it's gonna be difficult if you want to be a hero without quirk. Like, you kind of need one of those. So that kind of shatters him a little bit. And I don't know, one thing leads to another. And what is it? This episode ends on on kind of like a cliffhanger, saying that All Might, basically there's a series of events. Deku tries to save his asshole bully /friend /frenemy Bakugo from a giant icky goo monster, and he ends up running into the face of danger without any powers to stop him, and that kind of inspires All Might to save the day, even though when he was doubting his own powers since his powers are waning. And because of that, he meets up with Midoriya again and says that you too can become a hero. And that's what the second episode ended on, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically these first two episodes just set up a world of where comic book superheroes are the norm. Their heroes are kind of an industry, their new career. And it's kind of the flashy career that everybody wants to go into. And so that's they show a brief scene with Deku and Bakugo in their middle school classroom where their teacher's like, oh, you guys just all want to be heroes, right? So go ahead and take the hero exam. And yeah, it's interesting. It presents heroes in kind of like an optimistic light that I feel like is kind of sort of missing from most of our contemporary modern Marvel and DC live action movies now, right? Like heroes are.
Can I ask you do you think that that's kind of like missing? Because I actually think that it's. I mean, the way Marvel's. You know what? Never mind. Yeah, I totally see where you're coming from. I thought of DC. And I immediately was like, yeah, no, I see it now.
Right, and I'm not saying like that, and this isn't to shit on Marvel movies or anything like that, but you can. I feel like there are two kind of superhero pieces of media that exist on opposite ends of the spectrum, and you have My Hero Academia on the optimistic side, and then you have like fucking Logan on like the cynical and kind of jaded side of like what does it mean to be a superhero, and that's not to say that Logan's bad. Obviously, it's very, very good. It's one of your guys' favorite movies of the year still, I'd assume, right?
Oh, I'm putting that on the list, dude. I'm putting that on the list. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. So that's a really cool and awesome take on it. But yeah, I don't know. I just find the way that My Hero Academia handles its heroes, especially in these first few episodes, where Deku is just so fucking pumped to be a hero. Like, he's watching the YouTube video of All Might saving people, and he's just getting so jazzed by it. Like, there's an optimism there that I feel like I haven't seen in a while. That's kind of refreshing. Like I felt a little bit with Tiger and Bunny as well, right? And,
yeah, I feel a lot of Tiger and Bunny vibes from this show.
Yeah, definitely in a good way, I think.
Oh yeah, no, it's the way that like the heroism is presented as a business kind of like reminded me a lot of that mindset. And
now, Mitch, in like a lot of American comics, because we know that you've been reading a lot of like Marvel comics recent or in the near present or past, like, do you get the sense like it's so institutionalized for like heroism and like heroes? I guess.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? I feel like I half understood.
Well, I mean, it's like in My Hero Academia, like heroism and like being a hero is like sort of an institution inside of the society. It's sort of like continuous with the society. Whereas, is it this like? I don't feel like it's probably the same way in American comic.
In I can speak on Marvel's side and a little bit of DC. Like there isn't like a school or like a very organized and well built system for heroes, and that always seems to be like a point of conflict, especially in Marvel. They had a whole thing about it, about being like properly organized and stuff like that. Where I mean that was Marvel Civil War. I feel like when I look at the world that My Hero Academia set up, and also Tiger and Bunny, like that's the way it should be. That's the way you have these institutes, you have these schools that help people understand their powers. You have even in Tiger and Bunny, they had like some sort of hero academy, right? Like it should be a thing, but like it just isn't. I can't think of like a Marvel property or anything like that in American comics where they kind of had something like that. A lot of the times heroes just become heroes through like, freak accidents or, whatever.
Yeah, heroes are very much special, right? And it makes sense. Like they're superheroes, they're supernatural, they're above normal people. Whereas in My Hero Academia, they're very much normal. They're like I said, like I think they gave out like 80% of people have powers, so they're a normal part of society.
Yeah, and I really like the fact that it's 80% of people.
Yeah, I really felt very attached to Deku because that's shitty, but I'm left-handed, and I think it's like the same percentage. Like, like being quirkless is like if is the same probability as being left-handed, basically. And like, oh shit, like if I get pissed off about the fact that this whole entire world's built for right-handed people, imagine being somebody without a quirk. Fuck, man.
Well, my favorite part about the quirk argument is like I love the fact that like I think it was like I read a post somewhere. It's like they should make a My Hero Academia for America. And I'm like, no, you can't do that because guns exist here.
Oh my god. And they also kind of already have made a My Hero Academia for America. I mean, like fucking Sky High.
Yeah, it's the constant joke. It's just Sky High. It's
yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if Sky High were made like 10, 15 years after or later than it was?
Yeah. I heard like rumors a while back that like there was a chance for it to come back, but like I never saw anything after that. I will say this much though. When going back to the episode for a bit, like episode 1, I think it does a really, really good job establishing the world from the get-go. And that's something that I really appreciate in general with anime is when like they very clearly and concisely be like, yeah, this is how the world works. They show us like them fighting a monster dude, and they show us, they show Genji and Mei and Winston and and they show these heroes dealing with it, and then one person just steals the show at the very end, and it's there's something really satisfying about that.
I'm sorry, not to derail, but I just looked it up. Apparently, according to Wikipedia, Disney's developing a sequel to Sky High as of November 2016. So
I also want to bring up Vanador. As I quoted saying probably earlier, it's like I can't think of an institution in Marvel where they would train people, like an academy or a school for gifted youngsters. And there's like, and Charles Xavier just stares at me in a window or through a window, and he's just like,
Well, even in that case, like I feel like the main crux with X-Men is that it always, like, I feel like in every single piece of media that I've consumed that's been about X-Men, it always ends up circling back to the whole like racism analogy, which is totally fine.
Or they're like outcasts in the society.
Right, exactly. Like they're outcasted
in,
and branded as mutants and persecuted by that. And that's
and
not to say
Hero Aka is about like sort of heroes being like, you know, part of society, fully integrated.
Yeah. It still ends up circling back to that cynicism, X-Men at least, right? So, which is not bad. It's just that, you know, it's been done, I guess.
Yeah. Like the episodes just, I mean, I keep going back to the episodes because I'm like, oh man, it's just very, like, everything about the first 2 episodes of My Hero Academia just are like, there is a really good, like, you know how like some people have like the rule of like, oh, 5 episodes, 10 episodes, or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Before it has to hook you within 5 episodes or you drop it, you mean?
Yeah. I remember watching the first 2 episodes of Gangmudo, and we watched the dub, which I mean, maybe this is blasphemous, but the dub for My Hero Academia is fucking amazing.
I really like the dub.
Much prefer the dub.
I heard some really interesting opinions about like the sub versus the dub. Mainly that like they have like slightly different implications for their translations.
Can you? Well, I guess we can cite some specifics like when we get farther in, but I can see that, I guess. They definitely change a lot of All Might's mannerisms. I feel like All Might's changed a lot. Not a lot, but like he's the biggest one that's like, oh, like he's kind of, they tweaked him a little bit for the dub, and I like it. Yeah,
he feels more like a 1950s like Superman cartoon in the dub. And like even the way that, what is it, Chris Sabat?
Yeah,
like the way that he delivers the lines is really solid, and I like his performance. I think he does a really, really great job.
For me, it's nostalgia just because he's, you know, it's almost the same voice that he brought for Alexander Louis Armstrong for Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and it's just so good.
I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about Bakugo.
Okay.
Because
my favorite.
Yeah, he's my favorite. He's a complete douche. Like, but I really like. How do I word this? It would be really easy for him to be Sasuke.
Oh man! I think the original reason why I stayed with the series was because it seemed like he was like Sasuke, except compelling.
He's a better Sasuke.
He's Sasuke with a personality, basically, instead of a whatever. He had like Sasuke's whole entire background was kind of a plot point, basically, right? Like all of the stuff that he did was plot driven, whereas I feel like Bakugo has like I don't know, he has his own. The quirk is not the right word. I don't want to use that, but he has his own personality.
Use it.
He has his own personality quirks in conjunction with his actual quirk.
I mean, with Sasuke, it's like all of his entire personality came from that one point in the plot, whereas it seems like plot around Bakugo rises out of his personality, which is probably much better for something where, you know, you're starting with kids and their growth.
Yeah, I honestly can see a character, like, what are they? They're supposed to be like 13, right? Like around that age.
13, 14?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in middle school, so they'd be in 8th grade right now, and they're going to go into 9th grade.
Like I can see.
They're like 9th graders.
9th grade going to 10th grade. I keep forgetting it's later. Yeah. So they're 9th graders going to 10th grade for high school.
Like I can totally see characters of this age range having like these personality types and stuff like that.
Sure.
It's hard for me to be like, oh yeah, Sasuke is 12.
Well, I mean, like think of like, to me, Bakugo is like the equivalent of My Hero Academia is equivalent to like the douchey, like, you know, prospective football quarterback, right? Like born with innate athletic talent, and just thinks he's the shit because he has a bright future ahead of him for high school. You know, he's the guy. He's like the kid that in middle school that is like looking at like high schools that he's talking with recruiters to get on the big sports team and shit like that. You know, like, and he thinks he's big shit because all of this culture is built around praising people with cool quirks.
True, but at the same time, it's something where it's like he's also a little bit vulnerable, I guess.
Oh,
because,
sure.
Like,
he's totally
every time like Midoriya does something that like gets on his nerves, it's like he just on going, oh.
He's so afraid of being helped and being seen as weak that like that was the first thing that he said to Midoriya is like, don't look down on me. I had it under control when he saved him from the goo monster. When he totally didn't have it under control, he was definitely fucked.
I definitely look forward to seeing how his character develops. And like I look forward to seeing how all this all develops. Like these were two really, really solid episodes.
Oh yeah, I think the first 2 episodes were my personal favorite episodes of the series so far.
I find that interesting. I actually think that the show improved. Like, obviously, I enjoyed the episodes enough to keep going with it, but I thought the show just keeps getting better from here. You know, I think this is the low point. I guess. Interesting though. I think it's a solid start, and I like how the show increases in scope and develops its characters further as we get further along in the future.
Oh,
arcs.
absolutely. It's just like I really like the pathos of like Deku going through all the shit that he has to go through.
Right.
Being like a quirkless kid who just aspires to be a superhero, who looks up to All Might.
These first 2 episodes and his struggles with basically the loss of his birthright, that is his quirk, I guess, really do kind of justify, and they really give weight to where his character goes in the future and kind of inform his mentality as far as...
It's like, I think everybody sort of understands having that impossible dream.
Yeah.
That you always look up to, and then like one day realizing that that impossible dream is just out of reach, and people telling you that.
Man. Fuck,
just, saying it to your face, you can't do this thing because you do not have the capacity to do it.
Right. Go for it.
No, I just thought that sort of is the base, the ground on which everything on this series is built on.
Yeah, I think, and we'll get into this in future episodes, I guess, without getting into spoilers, but every single time that Deku's brought up with a new challenge or he meets a new peer that's like really strong or something like that, he always kind of says to himself, like, I have to work twice as hard as everyone else to catch up. And I'm like, fuck, like that really resonated with me, like if trying to become good at something that you're not naturally talented at. I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to. And I feel like that's why Deku and the show as a whole kind of resonates with me. It's awesome. It's just really well executed.
Yes. Okay. I think is that everything that we want to talk about with episode 1 and 2?
Yeah, I'm good to go. I'm excited to watch more because I think if I'm remembering correctly, these next 2 episodes are some of my favorites. Actually, I really like these next 2 episodes coming up. So yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that sets us up for the next topic of the night, which is Kingsman.
Yeah, I would hum the theme, but I actually don't remember it. Fuck. But yeah.
Okay. So who wants to cover the general synopsis for this one?
Well, I did my Hiraka, so you guys. So
I'll take it.
Okay.
Kingsman is a deconstruction of the spy film genre. Taking its hero, it's weird because it's a deconstruction, but it's also a callback to like older spy films, and I want to say like Roger Moore maybe.
Sean
Connery, yeah. And
the old Bond films, the pre Daniel Craig and Pierce Brosnan Bond films. How about that?
Yes, and I actually this is kind of where it gets interesting because not that the whole cast wasn't interesting. This is where it gets a little interesting because I actually don't like spy films.
Oh, really? Okay.
I find them to be a little boring, admittedly. The newer ones, at least. And
so, like Casino Royale, like James Bond Casino Royale, and like
the Bourne series.
The Bourne series, those don't do anything for you.
Not really. I can't tell what it is, but I can't tell if it's the pacing.
Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
They are very self-serious, so yeah. Not a problem. It's interesting.
But that's the thing. I couldn't tell. Like I think because Kingsman is so detached from. It's detached from modern spy films. It's why I like it so much.
Yeah, it's definitely refreshing.
And that's and to say that the cast is very strong for Kingsman. Colin Firth as Galahad. As Samuel L. Jackson's the main villain for this one.
He's so great.
He is. He's fucking fantastic. We watched it last night, and I'm just like, that performance is so solid. And it's shitty to say, but like, I didn't really like the villain of the second one as much as I liked Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be hard to top. I wasn't expecting to like the villain as much. I mean, you got Mark Strong as Merlin, which is basically the Q of this movie, right? The guy who provides all the tech.
Oh yeah, another really solid character, and that's the thing about Kingsman that I think that really stands it out is that all the characters are very strong. Save except maybe the princess character.
Yeah, well, she's mostly a MacGuffin plot device that.
She offers Eggsy the thing that we all secretly want.
Right. Yeah. Jesus. That ending, that like last final shot was like, whoa, a little out of nowhere for me, but whatever. What I really like about
the funny bit was I was actually going for a joke, like the one thing we all want, and then I was gonna say companionship. But like you jumped on it so hard, and I'm like, I gotta back down.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to ruin your setup then. Anyways, so the thing I like about Kingsman and the reason that I recommend it so eagerly is that it really straddles the line expertly between satire and like homage. You know what I mean? Like it's making fun of spy movies while also being a really solid, you know, like admiring those old movies too. You know, it's a lot of fun. It's funny in some places, and it's just so campy, but so irreverent at the same time that it really ends up endearing. Like it's so endearing, I think.
I think
absolutely.
Part of its strength is definitely like the fact that it's not entirely just about the spy movie, but also got like the boarding school sort of subplot in it too.
Yeah, that's true. Like the whole entire second act.
Bringing up Eggsy to become like the other Kingsman.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that whole entire second act where they're going through all those trials and stuff. It's like, wow, like you're right. It's almost like a different genre at that point.
Because it's go on.
All I was gonna say was like, you know, I think what makes like Daniel Craig as James Bond, it's like I don't understand why we care about him. Like he's an agent, he's on a mission, and that's normally like the setups for these films, you know.
I feel like what makes Daniel Craig compelling is that, and it's interesting because you called this a deconstruction, like Kingsman. I think both Kingsman and let's say like Skyfall, well, I should say more Casino Royale, Daniel Craig's first Bond movie, are both deconstructions of the spy movie. It's just that they went into complete opposite directions, right? With it, where it's like up until that point, like keep in mind that like in the context of Casino Royale, Pierce Brosnan was the last James Bond that we had, and if you watch Die Another Day, which is I think is his last film, that is a very, very campy James Bond film. Like you have satellite lasers beaming down from the sky. Like you have like, is that the one where he's playing Mario Kart with his tablet? I don't know, but whatever, it's fine. Anyways, Pierce Brosnan was still pretty campy for a James Bond film, and it got pretty ludicrous towards the end. And then Pierce Brosnan or Daniel Craig comes in, and they suddenly like immediately like they start going into like Daniel Craig's issues with his alcoholism, basically, like, you know, like objecting and also like framing his, I guess, conquests with women to be kind of sleazy and douchey, as opposed to like, oh, like in all the other James Bond films, it was
it strips away the romanticism of it, right?
Right. Yes, exactly. Like
it's like the post 9/11 Bond, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no romanticism. Like what's the line? There was a line where somebody asks him for a martini. He's like, I'll have a martini, please. And then he's like, it's like shaken or not stirred. He's like, oh, I don't give a damn. And then like it's like, okay, like it's kind of a cheesy line, but it's kind of encompassing the attitude that Daniel Craig's films had. Basically, I'm talking like he directed them, but you know what I mean. The only problem is that since Casino Royale did fucking gangbusters, and all as well as the Bourne trilogy, that's kind of all that we've gotten from the spy film genre for the past 10 years. And so that's why Kingsman is was such a cool, surprising thing. Like I ended up being dragged to the theater. Like I was like, I was with you, Mitch. I was like, I don't know. I'm not really feeling this whole spy film stuff anymore. But my friends ended up going, and I ended up going on a matinee, and it was a lot of fun. It ended up being one of my favorite movies of that year.
I only recently watched this film. Like, I can't believe this was under my radar for so long. I was pushed into it by the significant other, and I thoroughly enjoyed this film, and I've watched it twice now in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, because I watched it once and I was a little inebriated the first time, and then like I was like, well, maybe I should watch this film not, you know, a couple shots in, and then I watched it again, and it's still really solid. And I guess if I had really anything fool to say, like if I had to if you're in the mood for watching like a movie that you're gonna have fun with, this is the movie I'd recommend.
Yeah,
this very quickly became one of my favorite films in the last few years.
I don't know. I love that it brought back the gentleman spy, as it were. You know, it's everyone. It's just so classy. Like in the opening intro scene with it's Lancelot, right? The knight that Eggsy's trying to replace, right? So like the original Lancelot is saving Mark Hamill from these from his would-be captors, and he just like he goes to this like intense action scene, and then like, you know, a guy walks down with a plate with a nice fancy whiskey on it. He shoots him in the head, and then immediately grabs the whiskey glass and like takes a sniff. It's like, oh, be send to spill any. Like, oh, classic. This is so good. It's just those moments like that are so memorable for me. Sorry.
Well, all I was gonna say was another thing I wanted to say real quick was Kingsman's general theme, like musically, like the score is very solid. Every song choice, every time, like the theme is like I think on the OST or something, it's called like "Manners Maketh the Man."
Of course.
And like it's a solid theme, you know. The movie is just overall just a super great film. If you guys have not checked it out yet,
also like the action scenes.
Oh god,
dude,
how can we forget about them?
If you haven't seen it yet, we're about to go into some spoilers here. But man, guys, that fucking church scene, like, oh man, so well choreographed. I think
fucking to Freebird.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. Is like, I actually don't remember much of the OST, but I do remember one of the fucking like Colin Firth just messing dudes up to Freebird. It was so good.
Oh man, I also I mean, wasn't that one long continuous shot?
Yeah, it felt like
or at least what seemed like it.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure there were some like wipe cuts here and there, but for the most part, it's still a really hard thing to do to make it look like that.
Well, it kept its momentum even when it cut away. It kept the momentum of the shot, which I thought was really impressive, because they cut a few times, and it was to show the emphasis. Like Galahad would do something crazy violent, and then and then they would cut to Eggsy reacting, or they'd cut to Samuel L. Jackson's character reacting. And and that was kind of to cut the shot, but it also kept it because it was a reaction to what was happening. It kept momentum going.
Absolutely, it's like I think with Kingsman and like John Wick, it's just the rise of like the mid-market like action movie again, and it's something that makes me really, really happy to see.
I haven't seen
had
John
them for a
Wick
while. Oh,
Fuck,
you should
I need to
watch
see
John Wick.
Yeah, I definitely.
Who wants to add that to the list?
Yeah, I would rescind Zootopia and go John Wick if that's okay.
I mean, if Sora gets to rescind his, I'll totally.
Hey, we'll talk about this later.
Okay, we'll figure it out. Yeah, I do need to see John Wick.
But yeah, it's like this and John Wick and crap. There was a third movie too that like I
heard like with The Man from U.N.C.L.E. I feel like a lot of people were talking about. They came out around the same time, I think. As
wow, I have not thought about that movie. Oh shit!
And people were saying that it was like, if you liked Kingsman, you would like that too. And it was criminally under. It didn't perform as great as it should have, is what I've heard.
But yeah, it's like movies that aren't like super duper expensive to create. Like, you know, they're not like $100 million like blockbusters, but like, you know, $20 million or $30 million.
What was Kingsman's budget? I want to see that now. Let's see. Yeah.
Oh, Baby Driver. Yeah, Baby Driver.
Oh, Baby Driver. There you go. Yeah. Let's see. The Kingsman's budget, according to Wikipedia, was 94 million gross.
94?
Yeah.
Or so that's gross? Or
gross.
Like, okay.
Yeah, that's its budget. I don't know what that means in terms of gross versus net. Net is 81 million, if that matters. But yeah, it did pretty well. So. Yeah,
it's good.
Definitely not Avengers money in there. Like,
well, I mean, no one. I mean, Marvel and DC are gonna be having this dick measuring contest forever.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
but it's like it's nice to see films that don't cost like $1 billion out there,
and then aren't just a CGI fuckfest. You know, let's face it, right? Like,
yeah, it's like Kingsman was really nice to watch in its action scenes, and you know, no shaky cam. Everything was like just really clear, and like you could actually see what was happening.
I will say that's like the one major thing that I don't like about spy films now is the shaky cam. It's like that's to me that's just like so lazy for me. Like they're like, oh, you're trying to attach the scene and make it hard to read. Let's just fucking shake the cam up, Jesus.
I mean, people attribute that to like the Bourne trilogy, but even like the Bourne trilogy did shaky cam.
It did.
But then everybody else borrowed it and did it badly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what happens. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, oh. I think one of the scenes that did not work for me was like when Eggsy does the "manners maketh man" speech at the very end of the film.
I mean, it doesn't hold the same ground that Galahad's version of it did, but,
right?
But the idea is that it comes full circle, and you know,
absolutely
right. It's his arc.
Like I understood what the scene was going for, but it just didn't feel like it had the same like gravitas.
Well, of course, because it's Eggsy, it's not Colin Firth.
Yeah.
And that's just, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, though. I think if I had to say there's one bit in the movie that might not have worked for me, the funniest bit of the movie did not sell the first time I watched it.
The funniest bit?
Which is the very end, the reason why Eggsy is like gets reinvigorated into like finishing the mission. That did not sell the first time I watched it.
No,
I sort of thought it was goofy and like it didn't fit the atmosphere too well.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I thought that came out of left field, and I was like, all right, this seems like not gross, but it's just like, okay, like you're just going for a dumb gag now, you know? Like it's a
it felt like a throwaway joke.
Right, like they went full on. Like I just like, you know, like at the top I said, like, you know, it straddles the line between like, you know, satire and like an homage, and they just went, oh, okay, you're just going full parody now. Got it. Okay.
Do you think the writer was in the mood for it, and he was like, well, I kind of want it right now, and then
right, you know, he writes it into the script, and then it's like his editor, who he's like got the hots for. And right after she reads it, they get into like wild monkey sex, and he forgets to take it out.
Yeah, no, that's how it works. That's what we like to call movie making. All right, let's start closing this up, because I feel like we're gonna start winding this down a bit for Kingsman at least. Any last thoughts on the movie?
Let's see. I thought the dialogue was well written. I love the juxtaposition between like Eggsy's like Cockney like slang and shit, and then with Galahad's super proper like English that like, you know, Americans think of when they think Englishman, right? I thought that was kind of funny and a good, like, that's what drew me into the movie in the beginning. Yeah, I don't know, solid direction, solid cinematography. Just an all-around fun movie that, like, I think I said that, like, you were asking, like, oh, have you guys seen this before? I'm like, yeah, I've seen it 4 times, you know? Like, it's such a rewatchable movie for me. Like, it's easy watching, and I really, fun movie, fun time. I should go see the second movie, maybe.
We'll get into that another time.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've seen that movie twice.
Either,
and,
so.
I've seen it twice, and it was not, how do I word this? It wasn't because it was so good I had to see it again.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so... Josh, what about you? Any last thoughts on Kingsman?
I guess I'm excited to see the second movie eventually. I've heard a lot of, like, sort of mixed things about it, so I'm not, you know, keeping my hopes too high. But, yeah, it's a great romp, and, like, it's something where if you haven't seen it yet, totally see it, because you've been missing out, and it might be the best Bond film yet.
I love, okay, I will say this, for my last thoughts, one of my favorite jokes in the whole movie is he goes up to Alfred, and he says the dog's name is JB, and he starts trying to guess, like, James Bond, Jason Bourne, and it's Jack Bauer, and that made me laugh for some reason, because Eggsy is such a charming character, and I just really like him as, you know, I think he's cool. And the movie is a total recommendation. If you guys are in the mood for like a fun action film, or if you're looking, if you have some time to kill on an afternoon and you have like 2 hours to kill for something, Kingsman is a total recommendation. It's super fun, and like I said before, surprisingly for me, it's probably going to be one of my films of the year. Not of the year, but, you know, one of my top films, I guess, that I like to recommend.
That you watch
people.
this, yeah.
I
got it.
All right, so I guess it leads us into general topics for this episode, which both me and Sora have brought up 2 topics. The rules of general topics are fuck it, because essentially what it boils down to is, so the consistent ideas of every Velvetcast from this point on is going to be like, yeah, we're going to watch Hero Academia and then watch a movie, and we're going to talk about those. So then everything afterwards is just general topics. But we're going to start off with Sora's topic for this month. For this week, and that was he watched Rick and Morty.
That's right.
And so that's interesting because I also watched Rick and Morty.
Right. So I guess for context, Rick and Morty, I feel like at this point it doesn't really need an introduction, just because I feel like it's taken pop culture by storm. I feel like people are very much.
You don't need to. I feel like, okay, let me put it this way. I feel like the only this doesn't have the same rules as the other bits do.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Where it's like you either are a fan of Rick and Morty, or you hate it, or you're so sick and tired of hearing it that you hate Rick and Morty and people that watch it. So
yeah, I mean,
it's a gamble.
Well, you know, let me put it this way: are we talking? Because when you brought up the subject, I kind of was like, oh yeah, let's hold back off. Let's not talk about it because, you know, we'll get into it because that's how we are. Are we talking specifically spoiler 3 or spoiler 3 season 3 spoilers?
I was just gonna want to talk about like how season 3 and how I felt about it and how I feel where the show is at right now. You know,
okay.
Because and just from the top for context, like I've been watching Rick and Morty. Then season 1 was halfway through airing. Like my friend was like, "Oh, like I'm really liking the show. Let's just binge all the episodes and watch the rest." You know, and I was hooked from the start. So yeah, like obviously, like I was waiting for such a long fucking time for this fucking season 3 that it was almost too good to be true. I think overall, I really enjoyed this season. I thought it was a really fun time. But I feel like it's going in kind of a weird direction, and where the fan base is kind of forming is kind of in a weird spot. I don't know. So basically, I'm trying to think. So obviously, with this new season, the animation just fucking ratcheted up. Like the animation budget was like, it seemed like it doubled at least. Like it was definitely a noticeable improvement, I guess, from the first. Like you watch like the first few episodes and compare that to like the Pickle Rick episode where like Rick is just fucking mowing down like a bunch of rats in the sewers and excruciating detail. It's kind of bizarre. Where like, you know, like this new animation like budget that they have lets them do kind of cool new things, but I feel like I don't know, it ends up kind of taking the show into like weirder directions where I feel like they treat Rick as like a kind of like a god character that can do no wrong and like super badass all the time and stuff, where it's like, where I don't know if that's just as much of an interesting direction as it could have gone. But yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm actually curious, Mitch, because like I'm a fan of Rick and Morty, and I knew that I'm pretty much all about whatever episodes come out. So I'm actually kind of curious to where you're at, because I actually haven't talked to you about Rick and Morty yet.
No, it's something that like I knew that we were both into. I guess I just well, I like the show.
Okay.
I think that Rick and Morty is one of those things where like and I guess I like to watch dumb adult cartoons.
Right, yeah, same here. Right, exactly.
So,
it's like my new favorite quintessential Adult Swim show, I guess.
Yeah.
It's filling that void that like Venture Bros and Metalocalypse have been feeling. You know what I mean? Like it reminds you of watching those kind of shows in a good way.
Well, yeah. I guess a good way of putting it is Rick and Morty is the show that like I watch South Park, which is weird to say because if I had said that a few years ago, I don't think anyone would have cared. But for some reason, South Park gets some real shit. Like people who watch South Park get some real shit.
Really?
Well, there's a whole thing we could talk about with that one. Yeah. In terms of like how, yeah, but so South Park kind of has been on the decline in terms of like, especially with its last season. You know, I didn't really enjoy it as much because I felt that they betrayed their writings, like the way that they form stories. Which if you guys are into storytelling, definitely check out. Like I don't know how to word it. They do like there was like a writing bit where they explain how they form a script for South Park, and I think it's really fascinating. And if you look at Rick and Morty, Dan Harmon does his own version of it where he is a big fan of the hero's journey, and I really enjoy like these episodes because every episode of Rick and Morty has like this nice little ending. You know, every episode is like a packaged thing. Even if the endings are kind of bummers, or even if the endings aren't, you know, kind of like here or there, it still works.
Right. And that's what I really enjoy about it, because it's still like, even though it's a dumb fucking comedy that makes me laugh, I still feel like it's well written, and I'm invested in the characters at this point. And I wasn't expecting that in season 1, you know?
Oh yeah, so. And I'll tell you this much right now. I've been actually looking into Dan Harmon as a person. Like, okay, that sounds weird. I've been looking into kind of like his other work, and I've been looking into like he does a podcast. Actually, I was gonna start Community at some point in the future, but I've got other things I have to do.
Yeah, no worries.
But like, I wanted to check out Community. I wanted to, you know, I now listen to his podcast Harmontown, which if you guys like, it is so fascinating how this guy works. And like, I watched the movie about about his podcast and watching how his brain works, and how, you know, he's an not oddly, but he's a somewhat broken man, and watching him still be productive and still, you know, do what he does, like you can definitely tell where some of the ideology of Rick and Morty come from when you see how Dan Harmon works as a person.
Right. And you can definitely see a lot of I think he sees a lot of Rick. I think he wrote Rick with a lot of the same problems that Dan Harmon himself has. I don't know the guy. I've never met him, but that's kind of what I feel like from seeing him in interviews and seeing him in Harmon Quest and stuff like that. And this is kind of where I get kind of irked by the very small portion of the fan base. And this I think this kind of comes from, this show has gotten super popular, so it's resonated with people from all ages. And I feel like a lot of like younger like fans like see a lot of themselves in Rick, and see Rick as a person to idolize, and I don't really agree with that. You know, like it's.
Well, I would make the same argument for the people that idolize Eren Yeager in I
mean, it's like, I think it's more like Fight Club, you know.
More like what?
Fight Club.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
yes.
It's like where people like, you know, in like their teens sort of really like Fight Club, and
and they think they're so deep because like they've shattered the grand delusion by watching Fight Club, you know. And it was really just meant to be a piece of entertainment to make you think a little bit, right? And people who form their whole entire identity around somebody like Rick, I feel like they need to get a little bit more perspective, because Rick is a seriously flawed person.
Well, yeah, you know? but and I mean, I feel like it's like what is it? There's that classic argument about Deadpool, right? Where, God, this is a very overall, like, no rules for this one, so we're jumping all over the places.
No worries.
So when people I remember there's a very famous post that was going around on Tumblr where like the idea was like it was a picture of Deadpool. And he's like, you know, if you don't like it, you can go fuck yourself or something like that, or, you know, whatever, or, you know, and it seemed really out of character. And I'm not even a big fan of Deadpool, but like even I knew it was out of character. When there's people out there who take specific qualities of a character, like Rick is an asshole, and yeah, he justifies all of his, you know, his flaws and stuff through intelligence. But I feel like people forget that he's a horribly miserable person.
Yeah,
like right. his whole because he's so smart, he's miserable.
I just feel like people get carried away by like they use Rick as they look at Rick and say like, oh, they use their own intelligence as an excuse for their misanthropy, right? Like where they're like, oh, like I'm so smart, that's why like I'll never have any friends, or that's why like I don't, you know what I mean? Like, well, you know, like I see people like talking about this shit like on the internet, you know, and it's like that's not a healthy outlook. Like you should you should look to form connections with people that are like, you know, that are similarly minded. I guess not the right way, but what, you know, I mean, like people are using their own like they think that they're trapped in their own mind, and that's not a good excuse. Like you should always try to strive for self improvement.
Well,
you know?
I guess it's something where, you know, as a teenager, or you know, even as adults, sometimes you feel like incredibly alienated, or you know,
Sure.
very alone, and it's something where sometimes you look at another character who's like that, but better than everybody for all intents and purposes in a piece of media, and you think this person's got it figured out, because you sort of, you know, internally sort of accepted that maybe it'll just never be that I'll have that deep connection with another person, or
Right.
because of the way the show is built, you know, it doesn't seem like any of the characters in Rick and Morty really have any deep connections with other people, other than ones where they squabble a lot or where it's always dysfunctional.
Yeah.
Well,
And it's something where... Oh, go ahead.
All I was gonna... No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
But it's something where, I guess, if you live past it a little bit, usually you will find those people somewhere where you can have like a civil conversation with, where you can feel that connection with. And it's sort of like, you don't need to put this Rick and Morty's world on a pedestal, I guess, and put Rick himself on a pedestal because you feel that's the best that can be achieved.
Well, I mean, yes, absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. And I guess it just like, I don't know why, but it bothers me like to no end that the idea of like someone, you know, idolizing Rick of all characters, like he's self-loathing, he's, you know, he's poisonous and toxic. He views his relationship with Morty and his care and his love for his family as a weakness. He, you know, he's not like, I guess it's like where I'm coming from, at least with this, is I went to like a local you know, comic thing. Not, I wouldn't call it a con. It's just, you know, like a almost like a comic
A get together.
Yeah.
A little hangout.
Yeah.
A meetup.
And one of my sister's friends cosplays Rick. And it was this really jarring experience where like we would be walking, and like we'd be walking trying to, you know, like find something, you know, for Jesse to get, and like a kid like 13, 12, 10 would look at Rick, the Rick cosplayer, and, you know, and point at, and, you know, and say hi and stuff like that, and there's that moment where, like, this is like an Adult Swim cartoon. Like,
yeah,
like I'm 25, and like some of the stuff that Rick does, like there's a very specific episode in season 2 that always gets me, and like as one of the most depressing episodes ever.
Is that the Unity episode?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
And like, and just like that whole ordeal, because I wasn't expecting it at all.
Right. That's what made it so powerful, I think. Right. Like, yeah.
Yeah. A guy who has control over everything, feels the way he does. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, it does concern me a lot that, like, you know, people can misinterpret these characters.
Right. And there was a very specific moment in season 3 that I thought was kind of weak, where, well, it depends on how you look at it, where pretty much like it was Rick talking to Beth and saying like, oh, like Beth was like all like, oh, Beth is suddenly realizing that she's exactly like Rick and freaking out, and it's like, well, it's like, am I just a terrible person? And then like Rick is like, no, worse, you're smart. And I'm like, oh no, don't do this, dude, come on. And he goes into this whole diatribe about like how like you have control, you can take the universe by the horns and stuff, but no one cares and all that. And it's just all very nihilistic and all very, you know, it is what it is. But I do feel like that was like in a moment where it was getting a little too self-indulgent, the show, at least.
I mean, I think it's sort of like something that comes as like a byproduct of it being run by a single personality. And it's something where it has the capacity to create like very interesting things, you know, which Rick and Morty is, but it can also be a little bit like that. But I think that it's still a net positive.
Oh, for sure.
To be like that, I guess.
Well, I was I was going to make the argument of that I know the scene you're talking about. It was like the episode right before the finale, right?
Yep.
Like, I think the reason why it has to kind of be that way is because you look at the two characters in the room.
Yeah.
Because you know, Beth and Rick have a very odd relationship, and and, like Dr. Wong, like earlier in the season, said something about it too. You know, where it's a relationship that doesn't reward emotion, and so it's two characters who think only with logic and science, and you know, I feel like it has to be like that specific way, because if Morty or Summer was in the room, or even Jerry, for fuck's sake, you know, they would counter, you know, but because you have two characters who are just very accepting of the idea, you know, it just works out the way it does. I will say that this season delivered on its episode 1 promise, which was one of the darkest seasons I'd ever watched of a show.
Yeah, it did get pretty fucking dark. Dude, I will say, like, probably my favorite episode of this season, and maybe my favorite episode of Rick and Morty, period, was the Citadel, like the
Tales of the Citadel, yeah.
Yeah, oh my god, like that was such a well executed episode. That felt like an hour in a good way. Like, it's like, wow, so many plot threads like going on at the same time, and it was all concise, and like it all made sense, and it all wrapped up within 22 minutes. Like, that is insane. Yeah, I don't know, like, just having that much stuff going on, and then also all of the, like, for those who don't know, like, this is an episode where it's a bunch of Ricks and Mortys from different universes all like living in a society in one, like, kind of city where they've all banded together. So it's like 6 different versions of Mortys and Ricks going on their own adventures and stuff like that, basically. And they're all voiced by fucking Justin Roiland. Like, holy shit, like that he was literally the only voice of that episode. Like, that's so insane.
Like, the Tales of the Citadel is I super agree. It's one of the best episodes of the season. And it's one of the most noteworthy episodes, I think, in all of Rick and Morty, because there's so many, like, it like you said, it covers so much ground. But I think one of my favorite bits of the whole thing is you have Stand By Me happening alongside a cop story, alongside
right.
like a disgruntled factory worker, alongside a political campaign, and it all works, and it's all, you know, a thing, and it's just, I feel like it really goes to show how the show works by the fact that, like, you see all these quote unquote different characters when technically they're the exact same person, but you can tell them all apart because either outfits or something. But like, they all have, despite having like the exact same personality, they all oddly bring their own quirks to it. Okay, I keep pushing that quirk word. And that's what makes it, like, it would have been really easy for them to fuck up this episode and be like, I didn't, like, and like have like someone in there who reviewed the episode be like, I have no idea what the fuck was happening. But the fact that you're able to keep on the same track, and the fact that you're able to, you know, like, there's so much that happens, and, you know, everything, you know, it's a very convoluted episode for 2 characters essentially to do the entire thing. And it, like, even if you're not a fan of Rick and Morty, this is one of those episodes where it's like, I think, like, if you enjoy something a bit different, I would totally recommend this episode, because it's crazy how much is there, and I love all the political commentary, and I love all the like because I love the idea that it's like, I'm gonna fuck up the line, but essentially it's like, you know, Rick's. It's when Cop Morty is talking to Cop Rick, and he's talking about how, like, you know, the reason why why Mortys are, like, you know, in this really down state is because Ricks spend their entire lives being raised. Wait, did I say Morty or Rick?
Rick.
Mortys spend their entire lives being raised to believe that, like, they're the perfect sidekick characters. So, you know, they're built to, you know, be sidekicks, and so when their Ricks die, you know, or go missing, or are abandoned or whatever, you know, who else now? Whose side do they have to kick it? So they just, you know, they're all down, and they're all, you know, you see some really shady shit Like,
Yeah.
you know, there's what is it, counterfeit portal juice being made, and there's like a
Yep.
weird not strip club called
Oh, this is strip club, Morty strip club. Holy fuck! What's it called again?
the creepy Morty.
The creepy Morty. That was so weird, and they have Mortys and cowboys outfits dancing for other Mortys.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
yeah. It's so bizarre, but like,
Yeah.
but like at the same time, I love the social commentary of it. I loved how the political campaign worked out. I love the writing of the speech. I love like that he gives about how the Citadel is, and how like all the dynamics of that episode are just really great and grand. And
It is such a standout episode.
God.
Cards on the table. I've actually not seen season 3.
Okay.
So no. I don't think you've spoiled all of it for me yet. So
No, we didn't even get into big spoilers for that episode. It's just
yeah.
I would
totally watch it.
yeah, it's very good. I would say another, like, if you're looking for an episode to get it to jump into, I guess from season 3, if I had to pick one, it would probably be Morty's Mind Blowers, where they're just going
Really?
into. Yeah, well, I think that's a good, like, that's like a good thesis statement on what Rick and Morty is, right? Because it's basically a clip show where they just delve into memories of Rick and Morty's fuck ups, and it's just the way that the way that they frame it, and like, you know, like how it starts out with like, oh, like this is just all of Morty's fuck ups, and then you find out like, oh, there's some of Rick's fuck ups in here too, with some great. It's just very much like a gag filled episode that ends with a great payoff at the very end involving Summer, and I think that was like a perfect moment for me.
Like, I've seen the first 2 seasons, but it's something where I just never got around to catching up with the third one.
Well, I'll tell you this much right now, Josh. It finished up. Well, depending on who you ask, it finished up like last week, and so like if you want to, you can go and catch up. Like I actually on Monday.
They're all on Adult Swim.
Yeah.
The site.
Yeah.
Then
I've got no excuse then.
On Monday I marathoned it with some fans and stuff, like the whole 3rd season, and it was fucking great. We've been talking about this for 25 minutes now.
Yeah, well,
I guess
Rick and Morty's
final
great.
thoughts?
Rick and Morty's awesome. I went to try to go get the Szechuan sauce yesterday. Failed.
Did you know why?
Because they only got like 20 packets or something per restaurant or something. Like, dude, I went to there's only one McDonald's, and it was 20 minutes away. And like a bunch of my friends were like, oh, let's go get the Szechuan sauce. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'll fucking go. Like, whatever, it's being social, whatever. And I'll go. And I went, and it was like a fucking hour-long line, like, for the drive-thru. And luckily there's a guy outside the McDonald's, and he said, like, yeah, like, they never got the shipment of Szechuan sauce. There's no Szechuan sauce here. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I just wasted 20 minutes to drive there, but at least I didn't waste an hour and a half in line.
Because the funny thing is like you look at that, and there's that part of me that's just like, man, do you think like McDonald's is fucking laughing it up because they know that
They
demand's
totally
there?
are.
They know,
Yeah.
because they're like, oh yeah, what, a bunch of fucking Adult Swim nerds are gonna just, you know, buy this fucking thing. I only sent them 20, and now they know that the demand's there, and they're like, fucking the CEO of McDonald's is chuckling right now like a goddamn.
They got so
Japanese
much free
villain.
advertising from that. Yeah, it's kind of hilarious, but yeah, that it is what it is. I'm a consumer whore, and I'm part of the. I'm just a cog in the machine for
okay. Let's back down. We're talking. I know we're talking about Rick and Morty, but we don't have to get that down.
I guess my closing thought is, like, while watching the first 2 seasons of Rick and Morty, I couldn't help but think of like the parallels with like Space Dandy.
Space dating.
Yeah, I totally recommend watching them as like. Huh?
Oh, I haven't watched it.
I need to watch Space Dandy as well. Yeah.
I totally recommend watching it English dubbed, and it was like, I think it was on Toonami, but it's something where they have like similar formats where they're fairly episodic and they're all crazy sci-fi stories, right? And I thought they made interesting companion pieces, although they have sort of different thrusts to them. Because Rick and Morty is all very much like got a consistent sort of tone and atmosphere to it, whereas Space Dandy, almost every episode has a different episode director and a very different feel to it. I think like there was a zombie episode that was like written by John Romero too, so there is that. But yeah, totally should check it out.
I will. Sora, did you say your fun thoughts on it real quick?
Yeah, sorry, I think I wrapped it up. It's a fun show. I really enjoy it. I don't enjoy part of the fan base, but it's good. It's infinitely rewatchable. I've watched like probably the first 2 seasons like 3 times at this point. It's just such an easy show to pop on and watch and just laugh. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I can't wait for season 4.
If you guys are fans of Rick and Morty, or even if you're not, I super understand if you're not, by the way. I need to emphasize that real quick, because this show, I feel that it is a very, as some people have called me before, insane in the Velvet Room, because we believe in something called oversaturation. I understand if you're not into the show. And especially because it is an incredibly depressing show at times. But like, if you're ever in the mood to watch something fun, I feel like I'm saying that a lot this episode. If you're ever in the mood to watch something that is at least like entertaining,
and bleak.
Yeah, and bleak. You know, check this out. But like, at the same time, I super understand if you are not into the show. It is very.
It's not for everybody. Don't feel weird if you don't like it. How about that?
Yeah, because this is everywhere. It's incredibly oversaturated. And
it's sci-fi without a moral compass.
What's that?
It's science fiction without a moral compass.
Yeah. And I've been on the outside of shows that get this big, and it's kind of frustrating to like have people like gush about a show that you're just not that into, like Walking Dead.
Well,
and
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. Yeah, exactly. So don't feel weird if you don't like it. It's whatever. Well, people are into what they're into.
Yeah, but like I feel like with this particular fandom, it can be a bit much because of the nihilism and everything. So just wanted to put it out there. We like the show. We're not complete assholes. So, but yeah, which leads us into the final topic of the night. I recently beat Final Fantasy 15. Sora, you didn't beat this game.
No.
Okay.
No, so I didn't.
I am going to talk in circles real quick.
Well, yeah, and also from the top, I don't care about spoilers. I spoiled myself on the ending, so don't worry about that.
Okay. Okay. So I guess I don't have to worry about spoilers. Well, okay. Real quick, spoilers for Final Fantasy 15. It's been out for almost a year now.
Yep.
Okay. So this is what happened. I had some time on Monday because we weren't doing Persona 5, and because I had some time to kill before I had to go do the function thing that led us to cancel Persona 5 last Monday. I decided to pick up Final Fantasy 15 again. It took me about a week to beat this game. We've played it before on the channel, and I think we didn't even get past like chapter 1, but like, it was there. So I have watched, to give my credentials, I've watched Kingsglaive. I watched the anime. I felt I did everything that you were supposed to do, the weird prerequisites of this game.
Right. You checked off both boxes, which, yeah. Exactly.
And I can honest to God say it is... I want to like this more than I do.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
And this 15 is such a weird thing where I honestly believe that like 15 is in such a weird position because it took 10 years to make. It changed. It used to be versus 13. Now it's 15.
And to be fair, 10 years to make, like, yes, it's been a concept for 10 years, but I think this iteration of that concept has probably been in development for maybe about 4, I would say. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if in that 2006 trailer, everything was scrapped between then and what we have now.
Well, yeah. And of course, like, how many AMVs, Sora? How many AMVs? And that's kind of where I'm coming from, where it's like this has been the concept, like you said, has been in our lives for 10 years.
It was honestly so fucking surreal to play as Noctis. Like, he's just such a vaporware character for me still. Where it's like, I'm playing this character from the mid-2000s that I was hyped for. Like, it was so bizarre.
And I feel like it's so weird because even before we watched Boku no Hero, before we watched My Hero Academia, I was actually playing 15 because I'm trying to get all the royal arms. Because even though I beat it, I'm still playing it, and I intend to get the DLC to kind of help fill in some of these gaps. Which is a whole nother thing. This game is one of the 15. I love the characters. I love Prompto. I love Ignis. I love Gladiolus.
I love the main 4 guys. You know, I love the party, honestly.
And I'm gonna say this one more time, just in case anyone cares. There is going to be spoilers on what I'm going to say, because I feel like it's important to understand where I'm coming from.
Well, my chief problems with this game come from the story, so let's just get into it.
Okay, so for the first about 8 chapters of the game, you're hanging out with the bros, you're trying to find your girlfriend, or your quote-unquote, betrothed, soon-to-be betrothed.
Yeah, your fiance, basically, yeah.
And, for having the context of Kingsglaive, I'm like, oh yeah, Luna Freya, she was super cool in Kingsglaive. I really liked her character. She was a little weird, but like at the same time, it's like, I understand what's happening. And in the little bits you see in the previous stuff, you get the idea that these guys, like Noct and Luna Freya, have a weird relationship where, they were kids and now they're like in this weird arranged marriage. And for the first 8 chapters, you feel the sense of like, yeah, teamwork and shit, thanks Florence and the Machine for giving us a theme, and it's fun. It is a genuinely fun time, but there's tons of moments in the game that's not fun. I absolutely. I'm just talking chapters 1 through 8. I absolutely hated the bit where you had to go and get Ramuh's blessing, and you're riding on the back of chocobos for miles. And like I absolutely hate that. I hate the fact that in Final Fantasy 15, and before I got the supercharger, it took forever to get places, and if you wanted to fast travel, it cost you 10 gil, which wasn't a lot, but like. It just seems stupid, and I absolutely despise the fact that, like, everything just felt like it feels weird, and it doesn't feel and that's another thing, is it's a Final Fantasy game that in a lot of ways doesn't feel like a Final Fantasy game.
It honestly, it's not a finished game. Like, there are parts of this game that just feel flat out unfinished, which is unfortunate, but they did what they could. But yeah.
Well, like, I want to divide my review into 2 bits, which is chapters 1 through 8, and then chapters 9 through 15.
Okay.
Because chapters 1 through 8 is a completely different game from chapters 9
through 15. It totally is. And it's one that I actually really like, honestly. Chapters 1 through 8, it's a solid game. Like, if you go back to, like, those Velvetcasts, like, when, like, I was playing Final Fantasy 15 when it came out, a few months ago, back in, like, November. Well, I guess a year ago now. And I was really enjoying it. Like, I was having a good time, and I'm highly recommending it. And then I hit chapter 9, which we'll get to. But when the game was an open world game, I was enjoying it, and I was really liking. I wasn't enjoying the story. I was enjoying the vibe, right? Like, it was just like such a good dude bro trip, Like, it gives you that feeling of like you're going out camping. You're setting up camp, you're making meals, you're taking fucking selfies with people, like, you're reviewing like your camp, like your album of things that you did during the day and stuff, and it just really sells you on the camaraderie between your party members and stuff. I'm sorry, I trampled over what you're gonna say.
No, you're fine, because I super agree. Like, I love Prompto, I love Ignis, I love Gladiolus, and I love how they interact with Noct. I love I like the fact that I call him Noct because they call him Noct.
Yeah, exactly. I did not think I'd warranted that nickname. Yeah.
I love how the game. You're absolutely right. I love how the game feels. I didn't like specific bits. Like, I didn't like the Ramuh part. I didn't like. Right. I didn't like how the pacing is for like the pacing's really oddly solid. through chapters 1 through 8, except for like bits and pieces here that like have giant gaps and weird shit and things that don't make sense.
Yeah, right. Like things happen in the plot that are just like you know, like you get blessings from like what's the first one? I think Titan, is that the first?
Yeah, it's Titan.
And then you have the Rama blessing, and then what's the next blessing that you get? Like it's just, oh I know, the Rama blessing is where you go to all those shrines, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't even meet Rama, and I thought that was weird. Like, you know, you meet Titan, it's this bombastic fight that's a little too easy, it kind of plays itself, but whatever. It's bombastic, it's fun, it feels like an Uncharted game almost. But you know, you get that, and I'm like, all right, like, well, that's probably going to be what all of these summons are going to be like. And then Rama, you don't even really fucking meet him. Like, you just go to shrines and that's it.
Well, the thing that gets me with Rama is it just takes forever. It feels hopeless, and and if the point of that was to make you say, oh, I wish I had my shitty car, then yeah, I wish I had my shitty car.
Dude, that car is kind of shitty. Like, it's cool. Oh, and I forgot. Like, that's the thing. Like, for every single shitty part about it, there's a cool side of it. Whereas, like, I kind of loved having the car because you could drive around the car and play your favorite Final Fantasy songs. Like, I was fucking playing the Final Fantasy IV, like, airship theme. It's fucking dope. And I was playing the Final Fantasy VI opening theme. Like, oh, God. So good.
But that's okay. But like in the beginning parts of the game, because when fast travel is unlocked, I feel a lot better about the game. But like even then, like the loading times take for fucking ever. The drives to places, I don't get me wrong, I understand the idea. It's like, here, let's have a road trip with the boys, and that's the theme, and that's the idea.
Yeah, road trip with the boys.
And it works out fine, but at the same time, like I feel like there's not enough for me to do. So I guess it kind of that kind of leads into shit because that's a thing. So like I really like,
you're sighing so fucking much. Like if we could summarize Final Fantasy 15 with a noise, it would just be
because it's so ambiguous, because like I don't there's no other way for, like, this isn't a black and white situation.
It isn't.
There is a lot that goes into, there's a lot that went wrong with the production of this game, and there's a lot that kind of like was weird, and this is kind of where I landed. So one of the reasons I never properly played this game is because I knew of Chapter 9. I didn't know what happened, but I knew of it.
This is where we go to, I forget the name of
Altissia.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Oh, Altissia. Oh, yeah. Never mind.
I thought you were.
Never mind.
Like I was yelling at you.
Yeah, like I thought you were just about to say like, I'll blah 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 blah, and I'm like, wait, what? Oh, okay. Altissia is the name of the city. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So you enter Altissia, and from that point, the game takes a dramatic tone change, and not only does it take a dramatic tone change, but I felt cheated out of my emotions. So, and to be quite frank, that's just Chapter 9. I wanted Noct and Lunafreya to interact. I wanted more because of how much it was built up in the other mediums.
Right. Yeah. So we're just gonna get right into spoilers here, right?
Yeah. Warning, everyone. This is the last warning, because we're going to pretty much spoil the reasons why 15 has such a weird spot in my heart.
Okay. So, like, so them killing off Lunafreya like that in such a, not anticlimactic, because it is pretty climactic, I guess, but I don't know where I land on it, because I think it was kind of a bold decision to do it that way, to kind of like blue ball you that hard, you know what I mean? Because I had it definitely took me by surprise. Like I was like, well, fuck, like that, there goes the driving force of the plot. And like, you know, that cutscene, like, you know, like with Noctis basically grieving, like that CGI scene, like that was a pretty powerful scene, I think.
Oh, okay. So the grieving is like, okay, I care about Lunafreya because Noct cares about Lunafreya.
Yeah, right. And I thought that was really cool. I thought that was really well done. Like with that brief scene, like where he's just that CGI scene, like where he's like trying to like basically swim. It's like a fucking Kingdom Hearts like symbolic fucking CGI scene, but it was neat, and it kind of sold me on that kind of like that the weight of that character dying. You know, like I felt drained, you know, in a good, and I feel like that's what they were going for.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Like it's one of the bits in the game where like I know people who don't like Lunafreya because it's like, oh, she's such a weak character, and you know, it's,
well, she doesn't do anything. Like she doesn't have enough plot. Yeah, whatever.
Well, but that's the thing. Like, I know I'm technically wrong. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like, yeah, Lunafreya is the best character in the game. It's like, no, I felt that she was like a mix of Yuna from Final Fantasy X and Eris from Final Fantasy VII.
I could see that. Yeah, I could line it. I could see that.
Where they were almost going for a Eris's death kind of Final Fantasy VII moment.
Right, but the difference is that you invested gameplay hours into Eris, right?
Yeah. She was an active member of your party.
Exactly.
And they were trying to go for that with Lunafreya, to the point where, like, you know, like Noct is grieving and they have the scene on the train. Like, the train scene hit me like in a weird spot where it's like wow, this is like tensions are fucking high, and also Ignis is blind now. And
yeah, that was weird. I was not a fan of that. I was really fucking bummed because I like Ignis a lot. I was like, fuck, man. Like, I guess it got me feeling the way that the game wanted me to, but I was like, fuck, this just fucking blows.
What bothers me is, and here's the trick of the trade, right? Because like the DLC for him comes out soon.
Yep.
You know, like these, like episode Prompto, episode Gladiolus, and episode Ignis are bits I haven't played yet, and apparently they fill some of these holes. The problem is you can't do this with a Final Fantasy game.
No.
Because I could have I'm willing to be patient because I like these characters, and haha, you tricked me, Square Enix, you got me to care. But like, I genuinely have such a hard time, like, trying to defending this game is really hard because I know there's problems. I know that there's giant gaping problems with this game. But because I liked chapters 1 through 8 so much, I want to keep giving it this benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But like, and with chapter 9, you know, when Lunafreya dies, like, when Lunafreya gives her speech and Noct is standing in the crowd, right? And he sheds that tear. I had a moment of like, okay, crap. Like, he does care. He genuinely cares about this person. Love is a strong term because there's people out there who point out, like, have theories out there that Noct really wasn't into Luna, and then the game's ending happens. But like, yeah, I feel that, like, and I don't know. I couldn't tell if, okay, here's the thing. I think they keep patching in cutscenes and stuff because
they are. So that's the weird thing is I need to say I haven't played Final Fantasy since November of last year. So they patched in new scenes and stuff, which is really fucking bizarre. But I played it on initial release, basically, like before any major patches were. So I played Chapter 13 in its original form, right? I think that's the bad chapter or whatever that everyone was pissed off about.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
Theme pasting. I haven't had any updates from that. So
okay. So here's the deal. So do you remember when you deal with the spoilers? Do you remember when you deal with with Shiva and like they have all those cutscenes that explain Lunafreya's perspective?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I still see flaws with her character, but I understand her more. Like I care more, and I like it's so like I want, how do I word this? Because of the way the game was advertised, I was under the impression that like maybe she never became a party member, but at the end of the day, like, you know, Noct and her would have like, you know, a moment together or something. You know, not like a kiss under the water Final Fantasy X moment, but like, you know, something more than death. So like it I guess it's just really depressing, and I think that's the point, but at the same time, like, because it doesn't feel earned, maybe is what I'm going for.
Yeah, right. I think that makes sense.
And that's just chapter 9. I mean, I feel that the fact that Leviathan reacted the way that she did, and like, and all this crap, like, I just feel like it's a mess. And the problem is that part of me didn't even fully understand what was happening in the scene, like in the build up, where it's like the Hydrian will, like, you know, it will destroy the town if it's summoned and shit, but we need to summon it because the Empire wants it or something, or wants it dead, and like the story is presented in such a weird way, and it's this thing where it's just like, just show, don't tell. Like while she's describing what's happening, show pictures or show like something, like, you know, like Legend of Zelda does this really, Breath of the Wild does this really great bit when you go to the Sheikah, or when you, is that what it is? You go to the Sheikah town, and I forgot the name of the old woman who explains the story to you.
Impa.
Yeah, Impa. But then Impa tells you the story, and there's really cute visuals that appear that explain what happened, and they don't use dumb terms like the Hydrian. they don't use these interchangeable terms that make sense to the game's world, but like doesn't make sense to us, the viewer, because, you know, whatever. And, you know, and they show, like, it's like, oh yes, we found these machines, and they show like the machines, and like, yes, and then we implement them into our society, and then they show us, you know, these cutscenes and stuff like that. And it's missing from this game. And visually, it's still really good. I'm probably gonna play it a little bit after the stream tonight.
Okay.
But like, I want to get those royal arms, man. I want to get them.
Yeah. I just honestly, like, there's a really good game buried in Final Fantasy 15. But the thing is that for as much as I like those first 8 chapters, like, and I was really getting bummed out by the story, like, especially in chapter 13, where it's like, all right, well, basically, like, the whole world's ending, everyone's sad, and it's just, it does not, like you said, doesn't feel earned, and that's kind of where it landed on me. And so then I was like, all right, like, well, I'll go back to chapters 1 through 8, like, by using, I forget the
Umbra.
That you
Umbra.
can talk to.
Yeah.
Umbra, thank you. You can use Umbra to go back, and it just didn't feel right. You know, like, everyone pretending that it was okay. Like, obviously, it's just him reliving memories or whatever fucking bullshit it is.
No, it's definitely jarring. It fucking threw me off, because the first time. Go ahead. Sorry. Well, the first time you do it, you find out that, like, it's like, yes, we have Luna Freya, like I don't, that woman who I refer to as Hillary Clinton, like,
yeah, she looks straight up like Hillary Clinton. But yeah,
we have Luna Freya, and it's like, oh shit. And then when you go call Umbra, it's like everything's just fine. And then, the more you progress in the game, the worse it feels. Because especially in that final chapter, when it's 10 years later and all your characters are jaded and bitter and older, and then you jump back 10 years and they're wearing the exact, like, clean outfits of the versions that they wear in the final chapter. And it's jarring, and it feels weird. And ironically enough, doesn't feel earned. And it just, everything about this game, like, there's so much I want to like, and there's so much and you're absolutely right, there is a good game buried in 15, and I feel that when the DLC is finally finished, they're going to release an Ultimate Edition for 15, and in that version of 15, they're going to spend a lot of time reworking some stuff. They're going to, you know, they're going to include all the DLC, and they're probably going to streamline the story a bit, so that's a little easier. To, you know, during certain parts, especially chapter 13, which I was given the option to pick the easier path, and I still chose the traditional 13 path.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I wanted to know. I had to know.
Yeah.
And that felt like forever. And I wanted to put the game down and never touch it again.
That's pretty much where I ended. I finished that chapter, and I literally got onto, like, I'm at the point where you're back on I'm back on the dock of the main world, where, like, with older Noctis.
Oh yeah, Golquin or whatever, Golden Bay.
Yeah. That bay. Yeah. And I'm literally there, and I'm like, you know what? I'll play this later. And then that was 11 months ago.
Well, the funny, like, you know, the funny thing is, I grinded for, like, I grinded like a stupid amount. I knew that I knew that, like, it's like, oh, you want to go to Altissia? And I'm like, no, I don't. and I spent the rest of my time, like, grinding it out. I got to, like, level 40, I think, by the time I got to Altissia. And when I finally did it, like, it was weird because I felt like this sense of like, yes, the game's great, the game's good, everything's fine, and then it fell, and it didn't stop rolling. And there's so many issues. Like, and the funny thing is, we talked about like what chapter 9 and chapter 13. Like, there's still 10 and 11 and 14 and 15. Like the whole point of me bringing up the whole thing was when it's 10 years later and you see the Bay area that like I'm so used to going to for hunts and that sweet double EXP. It was like a little heartbreaking, and that's the point. And I feel like, you know, it's almost there. It's almost there, but it's not. And,
right.
And it's this oddly disappointing feeling. I don't want. I already spent too much time on this, but I want to just emphasize one more time. The ending to the game is super unsatisfying.
Yeah. That's why, like, I looked it up and I was like, well, guess I'm not missing much. You know what I mean? Like, I was like not motivated to go back after seeing that. So yeah.
Well, okay. So there is a battle that happens, and do you remember? Let's use Kingdom Hearts 2. Yeah.
Yep.
Kingdom Hearts 2 has one of my favorite final boss fights of all time. It's the final fight with Xemnas. He chucks skyscrapers at you. You use your Keyblade to do weird shit. You go and fight. Riku and you steal a nobody ship, and you fight him in a dragon form. Yeah, he's in a knight. He's a knight who controls a dragon. It's insane. And then finally at the very end, he sinks everything to oblivion, and so you exist in the world of nothing, and you fight him in his nothing form.
Yep.
Like everything I'm describing is fucking awesome.
It's anime as shit, but it's very climactic.
It's fucking cool, you know. And so for 15, I almost had this mentality of like, oh yeah, that's what it's gonna be like, because I remember the ending to Final Fantasy X. And I remember how 10 was a giant bombastic thing that happened. And I remember how Final Fantasy 13, despite what you'll say about that game, had a fun final boss fight. And like, yeah. And there is a boss. So you fight Arden. And the coolest thing about that fight is that Arden and you both use the Royal Arms to fight each other. And so there's a lot of really fun clashes where like Arden summons like a red evil version of the Royal Arms, and you summon the regular version. And like, and when you first fight Arden, you're using your regular weapons and stuff, and then eventually you both enter into Armbringer mode, and you're fighting each other, and you're flying through the sky, and you're shooting, like it's like when you fight Leviathan, like you're shooting like, the weapons as missiles and stuff like that, and there's tons of fun stuff, and then at the very end of the fight, you and him are like tired and beaten, almost like Goku and Frieza, like levels of bullshit, and you guys are like fighting each other with the weapons still, and then you finish him off by hitting him with all of the weapons once, and then you finish him off with your father's sword, and it feels like that's like, yes, that's how it should be. And I wanted to scream when you're flying around the city and on all this shit, because I'm like, because here's the problem with all of this. Like, everything I described sounds cool, but then you have to put it into the context of Kingsglaive, where in Kingsglaive, Nyx and the bad guy of that movie, whose name escapes me right now, him and Nyx are flying around the city, teleporting with knives and shit, and not only are they fighting each other, but the statues of the kings are being summoned to fight the like Omega weapon and the Ruby weapon and stuff like that, and it's this amazing huge scale fight, and it feels fucking cool. And that's not in 15.
Nope, that doesn't happen.
And that bothers me so much, because it's like you see in movie form what could have been, And that's the final fight I want. Like I like in the final fight, you don't have Prompto, Ignis, or Gladiolus with you, which feels a little disappointing. But at the same time, like, you know, it's whatever. This is the fight between the kings. You know, it's whatever. But if it was going to be a fight between the kings, have it to that scale, because Nyx wasn't a king. He puts the ring on, and he knows that like by the end of the day, he's going like by the time the sun rises, he's going to die. Because, you know, or, you know, he's trying to, you know, buy time so that Luna Frey can, you know, leave the city. And if I remember correctly, obviously it's been a year. And so, you know, he's teleporting all over the place. He's fighting against the main bad guy. The statues are the giant statues of the previous kings are summoning their weapons like Noctis does. And it's crazy. And it's so good. It's so good. And like that like I watched Kingsglaive, and I'm one of the few that genuinely enjoys Kingsglaive, also because I think Luna Frey looks beautiful in that movie. But
that movie is pretty striking. It's in a weird Uncanny Valley area, but I think it does really pop, I think.
If you're in the mood for something visual, if you're in the mood for just eye candy, Kingsglaive is so solid. You have to watch it in HD though. Like I will not like it's like Call Us. You have to watch it in HD.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like, because you have this prior context, like it doesn't deliver. The final fight doesn't deliver, and the worst part about the final fight is I'm leaving out the actual final fight.
Yeah.
Because you see the cutscene, you know what happens. Like. The fight you have of Arden isn't the technical final fight. Like it's the battle. You control him, and you control Noct when you do that, but it's not the technical final fight. The real fight is you become a ghost and you summon your ghost dads, and your ghost dads deal the blows, and then you deal the blow. Or no, I don't even think Noct deals the final blow. I think it's like just the dads do, the ghost dads.
It's just the former kings. Yeah, okay.
And then Noct disappears, and the ring of the Lucis, you know, fades away because Noct didn't have any heirs, and the sun shines up, and everything's okay, I guess, but it's not, because technically they don't have a king anymore. They're not a nation. I don't understand. Like the ending, it feels like they gave up, and like it's so real, and it sucks, and like because, like I said, this entire time, I want to like this game. I want to so badly, and I do to a degree, but like it hurts almost.
It's a flawed game that's unfortunately a product of its tumultuous development cycle. I think that there's a lot to learn from Final Fantasy 15. I actually think that they should try a similar open world thing again. I would be down for that for Final Fantasy 16.
This was I love the combat, and I love how this felt.
Sure, yeah. I just give it. I would be down for another shot at this, just with a more cohesive vision and better planning. Honestly, like it just. I mean, like, you know, obviously, like this was developed in anything but an ideal state. But you know, if they could just this game just feels like it was cobbled together by a bunch of different visions, and it wasn't really kind of sure like what it, you know, like no one was ever really sure what the game was going to be at the end of it. And what we got was what we got. I just think that, and honestly, like I would also be down to have another game in this world. Even like I would be down for, you know, like a 15-2 is a bit on the nose, but you know, like explore the world a little bit. Since these and it's obvious that Square is trying to milk the shit out of this game. Like we have 7 different versions of this game. We have fucking Final Fantasy. It's coming out on PC. They're fucking making Pocket Edition. They're marketing the shit out of it. They have 3 different mobile games, I think, for Final Fantasy 15. That are all just like basic ripoffs of Game of War and bullshit like that.
Jesus.
Yeah, so they're clearly wanting to get more money out of this IP and out of this world. So, you know, give it another shot. Like, you know, maybe try a spin-off game. You know, like I don't know, like it would be interesting.
Well,
maybe
I would love a game that takes place like in between the 10 years.
Sure,
that felt fucking weird. Like,
definitely fill in the gaps.
You skip 10 years, and then like everyone's just like the you know what happens when you see your friends again for the first time? Nothing. they're just like, hey, what's up, bud? And like they're like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel real. It feels like, because if I would see Prompto like giving like Noct a huge hug or something, and Ignis being blind, like kind of smiling in a general direction.
Yeah.
and I wanted more, and I didn't feel like it was there. And I want to know what they did. I want to, like, maybe it sounds weird, but like it feels fucking stupid that it jumped 10. It felt very arbitrary that it jumped 10 years. Like, it didn't make sense that it jumped 10 years.
Right.
Like, and I was spoiled at the idea that there was a time skip. I just didn't know that nothing happens in that time skip. Literally, it feels like what it is like it almost feels like, for story purposes, because Noct is supposed to be more mature in terms of, because he develops as a character in that, and whatever, that they physically age him so that it doesn't look jarring that Sasuke is, being this mature character. And I feel like this could have been a whole fucking episode in itself, because it's been like 40 minutes, and I realize that now.
Yeah, we're get into it.
So so I'm gonna close my thoughts here, and I might revisit this again when the DLC comes out.
It's a complicated game, so yeah, you're welcome to it.
Yeah. And we'll end the podcast here tonight. We didn't get any questions from the Discord. I think the last time we got some, it's been a while. In fact, we did get a question, which was Joker of Halloween asks, how are you guys liking Persona 5 so far? That Jesus Christ, I got a desktop notification that only I heard, but I bet but because it uses the Discord, that's gonna sound like shit. So God damn it. How do I turn that off? God damn it. Okay. So Persona 5 is great. It comes back tomorrow, and that's all I have to say about it, because I think we already covered that in a previous episode of the Velvetcast.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Dead Account asks, there's a podcast? We did kind of drop the ball for a little bit.
We did, but we're back. But anyways,
I guess better than ever.
Yeah. Oh, I want opinions on this new format. Like, what do you guys think of it? Like, give us your feedback, because this is kind of like our kind of experimental phase right now. So
yeah, I had fun today.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm sorry, Josh, that we ended up talking about Final Fantasy 15 for like 45 minutes.
No, it was interesting. Though I have to say, after hearing you guys talk about it like that, I don't know if I'm ever going to buy it.
No, don't do it. No, because that's the shittiest thing, right? Because like I like this game, but like cards on the table, Josh, like I feel like
it's not a $60 game. It's not.
I wouldn't remember how like there was. I always make this argument that Final Fantasy 13 would have done better if it wasn't called Final Fantasy 13.
Yeah.
I almost would argue that this game only did okay because it was called Final Fantasy 15.
Well, it wears its heart on its sleeve, and like, the fact that you can listen to fucking OSTs while driving around the car, like, it's proud of its lineage. It's just definitely very different, and not in a bad way. I don't know. I'm just babbling at the point.
Yeah.
All right, we talked about 15 enough.
Right. So that ends the cast. All right, so I'm gonna throw the original thumbnail up real quick. That shows that we are ending the show.
Cool. Yes. So any announcements for like the end then? I guess.
Oh yeah. So I need to go over my. I'll be streaming this Thursday. I'm going to try. So basically, cards on the table. Last time I streamed Dishonored, those were there. I ran into my computer hard crashed at this level, and like I'd heard things about Dishonored 2 not being well optimized for PC, and I was like, well, maybe they patched it out, because I hadn't ran into any issues until this specific level. So I'm going to try and maybe run through this level and play through it and see if I can get past it. And if that's the case, then I'll continue streaming Dishonored 2. It'll just be past that level, so unfortunately that won't be streamed. And then if it doesn't work, then I'm gonna have to find a new game to stream. So,
Jesus, that's pretty intense.
Guys. Yeah, no, like it's straight up. I need to delete that stream actually, because I think the archive's still up there, but like my game pretty much just crashed. I had to hard reset my computer, so that was no good. So yeah, I'll figure that out. But that's my end. I'll keep the Discord updated as I figure things out.
Awesome, man. Awesome. On my end this week, we have Persona tomorrow. Obviously, we took a week off because of some family stuff, but we're back tomorrow. I'm excited about it because I really like Persona 5, and it's our biggest fucking show. I genuinely enjoyed the time I had with Ultimate Spider-Man. I'm considering continuing to play it. The problem is I watched the footage back, and I'm like, do people like watching me just groan and make weird noises while I play video games? Because solo, I'm not a good solo. Like Sora, I gotta be like ultimate props. Like you do a good job soloing.
Shucks! Like that's the thing. Like I'm not sure if they like it either. Kind of.
No, you guys are both entertaining. What the fuck are you guys on about?
Oh Jesus! Fuck off.
You're never going to get me complimenting you two again. So
God damn it. God damn it.
Well, shucks. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, thanks, Josh.
You can go fuck yourself, Mitchell. Good job, Sarah.
Yeah, no, that's how that works. So you guys are gonna get Persona on Monday. On Tuesday, you're gonna get another episode of Super Paper Mario. On Wednesday's the Adventurecast. Thursday is Sora Streams. Friday, you guys are getting a special. Ron and I did a one-of. And we're not sure if it's gonna be a one-of because I didn't want to continue it. We played Shadow the Hedgehog.
Oh hell yes! Oh, I'm pumped for that. All right.
And my favorite bit about it is Ron had never played or does not know anything about Sonic the Hedgehog, and that was the one I picked.
That's our first introduction to Sonic.
Oh, man. I remember when you started talking about Shadow the Hedgehog to me back in middle school.
Oh man.
Oh
yeah.
God!
Jesus.
Yeah, welcome to that world. So I don't know if it's gonna be a series or not, but we're gonna see what happens with it. I obviously, if you guys, let me know because we're trying to fill every day. That's the goal. Saturday, I might continue Ultimate Spider-Man. I don't know. I enough people kind of want it seems. But like at the same time, like I said, I don't know how entertaining it is for me to just be like groaning and screaming that I'm Spider-Man while punching people.
Yeah, feedback is important, and this is not me saying fishing for compliments, being like, tell us how good we are. No, like I want feedback. I want to improve. Let me know if things are working, if things aren't working for you, just in all things that we do.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
Cool.
So that being said, I guess that pretty much ends the episode. If you guys liked this episode of the podcast, give it a like. It always tells us we have to prioritize. Sorry, I got like a weird air bubble.
We get more thumbs up. We prioritize more shit. So like, if you want to see more Velvetcast, dude, like this, the thumb it up. Thumb it up.
And if you guys have not subscribed already, give us a subscription for more fun stuff. And also, the bigger that number is, the happier I become. No.
Yes, do it for Mitchell.
Yeah.
Because you enjoy this stuff.
Yeah. No, but seriously, the support does help us a lot.
As always, I like to always give a huge shout out to the Patreon. Without the Patreon, we would not be able to do certain things in the channel, which also leads me into, because every time I make a purchase using Patreon money, I always try to announce it through Velvetcast or Persona 5 or something like that. The last time you guys donated money, I ended up getting $70, and I used that $70 to fund a power drill, and we were able to get a LAN. You call it a LAN cable?
Well, an Ethernet cable, basically.
Yeah, an Ethernet cable. Yeah. So now we have a wired connection, which means the streams are more stable than they've ever been. And now we don't have to worry about siphoning Wi-Fi from other people and all that stuff. And it's great. The streams are coming out super solid, and there's no hiccups or fuck ups. And I really super hardcore appreciate it. And it also enables me to play Overwatch and stream at the same time, which is really fun. So yeah, I wanted to thank the Patreon for that because it's fucking great. And I also wanted to tell the Patreon what the next goal is, which is getting a couch, because the thing that we sit on right now is not fun, and it hurts to sit on, and it's real shitty. And I really need a couch.
Oh, Mitchell, stop being butthurt, guys.
Literally not being butthurt. So yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know what was up. And we do have an Instagram that Gangbudo runs, and obviously if you guys want to see highlights and stuff like that, we do have a Tumblr. And in fact, what's going to start happening is not next time, but maybe the time after, I'm going to start making the Saturday streams like a Tumblr or Discord exclusive. So the idea is that you get the link through the Discord, and I'll also post it to the Tumblr, and it will be an unlisted stream and an unlisted video, because we need like an incentive for people to join the Discord. No, I figure that could be kind of like a fun little thing to experiment with. I think it could be fun, especially for those who, because I feel like it's I don't trust that bell system. and Saturday streams, admittedly, I don't feel are my strongest videos. So what I might do is I might just make them unlisted for the Discord, so they can watch the full streams, and then I'll make like a small highlight video that I upload to the channel or to the Tumblr, and that way, it's different. We're experimenting, guys, and we're experimenting. So, but yeah, that pretty much sums it up. So yeah, next time on the Velvet Room.
Have a good night, guys. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Bye.
Wait, before we go.
Oh, fuck.
So, Zootopia, yeah, next week?
Zootopia next week, yes, let's do it.
Okay, all right, so we're not going to be, finding new things to up, yeah.
Yeah, no. Okay, so next week we talk My Hero Academia episodes 3 and 4, and we'll also be talking about Zootopia. So, now, next time on The Velvet Room.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Ooh.